Well, to tell us more about her extraordinary journey from civil war in Sierra Leone to the international catwalks of London, I'm joined now in the studio by the lady of Sierra Leone style herself, Isatu Harrison. Thank you very much indeed for coming in. Great to meet you. I've read a lot about you. Tell us how you got started in the fashion design business, briefly.
Oh, thank you for having me. So I grew up, my mom was a fashion designer in her days, and I came over to the UK in 2001 and did my studies, college and MBA, and I did some work in the corporate world, had a baby, and the rest, as they said, was history. So I started my fashion brand.
Your initial sort of inspiration came from your mother. I mean, I find it quite extraordinary that, you know, she was able to run a business in the middle of a civil war.
She started running her business years before the Civil War, but unfortunately, you know, during the Civil War, she lost everything. Yeah, so she brought us up, you know, I'm the first of 4 kids, and she brought us up doing fashion design, back in the days they called them seamstress, but she had, you know,
so you were watching that machine,
the hand machine,
threading through all these clothes.
Absolutely.
And things. I mean, did you ever think at that stage during the war that you would one day be showcasing your fashion designs internationally on the famous London catwalks?
You know what? I've had this dream for a long time, but I always say to people, I think I'm living my mother's dream. You know, she would have loved to do what I'm doing now. So I get that inspiration from her. She wanted to do this, but unfortunately the opportunities were not there. But, you know, within the struggles, doing it by herself, a single mom, she did what she could do, you know, with her tie-dye. She started, if she was in this part of the world, she could have been one of the biggest names in fashion design. She did, you know, she started from tie-dye, you know, from the first steps, did her own designs, her own patterns, and then turned that into, you know, pieces
but of course,
that people
your
bought.
mother, as you said, was doing this before the war.
Before
for you,
the war,
though,
for us, yes.
All this was happening with bombs sort of exploding all around you. I mean, how much of that experience of war comes through in your designs? Is there, for instance, any reflection of the military costume or uniform in
my first collection, it's funny you know, you mentioned that, but my first collection was military inspired. So yes, something about the war, but I didn't want, you know, people to just remember Sierra Leone about the war. It's about time we change the narrative. So I used that and did something completely different. I did like denims, like overalls, you know, jumpsuits, all military inspired. So something that was a negative thing, I tried to
turn it into something positive. I mean, along the same theme, and I don't mean to sort of belabor that point, but do you think war and fashion, you know, are strange partners?
Somehow. Yes, somehow they are. But, you know, fashion as well, you know, talking about war and fashion, I think for me, it's really, fashion really started, like what I saw from my mom. She was very interested in the 1950s fashion. And you talking about war, you know, the Second World, after the Second World War, the face of fashion changed, you know, completely. You got military inspired, you got some beautiful silhouettes, you know. So ladies' fashion changed completely after the Second World War.
Okay, let's talk about what you're doing now. You've got something new coming up. Tell us about it briefly.
So I'm opening my first stall, and it will be a concession stall at East London. We're opening on the 1st of December, and what I've done, I've created something different, I think that will be the first of its kind. We have African-inspired designers under one roof. We have like household designers, we have kids, so it's sort of getting anything African under one roof. So we're having a concession store that will be opening in East London, 1st of December, but we'll also be providing training there as well, giving back to the local community.
Very good. So mark it in your diary.
Absolutely.
Well, me, mark it in your diary, I'm saying. Listen, Isatu, I really appreciate your coming in. Isatu Harrison, the famous Sierra Leonean who went from war to the catwalks of Britain. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for having me.